Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the mayor, Heath Sheeran, and the host of this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from Texas at the PIA of Texas conference in San Marcos. And I just stepped off stage and just had an incredible panel discussion with some good friends of mine in the industry talking about the hard market. And I couldn't wait. I wanted to put it out as soon as I could. So check this out. I can't wait for you to hear it. Before I do, though, I want to talk to you and thank my sponsors and Smart Choice, the fastest growing agency network, hands down, 11 billion in premium, 10,000 agencies nationwide, and they just want to help you to become a better agency owner. Also, my friends over at Canopy Connect, go to usecanopy.com/Heath. There's so much more than a one-click solution in getting deck pages. They're part of the entire intake process. You got to check it out. I've been hanging out with Nick Berry at some conferences lately. I've been seeing Tolga and hanging out with Ray, and got some really cool stuff they got going down the pike. So I can't wait for you to check it out. Also, last but not least, old school marketing, handwritten direct mail pieces. It's old school approach to a new school way of marketing. They do so many other things too. Guys, I got to slip back in here to the conference, but I wanted to make sure I got this intro done so I could release this podcast as soon as possible. I'm going to jump out of the way.
Just going to kind of work on the tech side and doing what I did prior to insurance. I was a teacher for 3 years. And so I kind of go back to my roots of education and insurance at the same time here.
There we go. Debbie?
Hi, my name is Debbie Dziga, or Debbie Moses Dziga. I've been an insurance agent since, I don't remember how far, about 40, 50 years. I started with my father at his agency and just did everything as I talked too much. I told me, so he said I can only talk to him. But I've been married to my wonderful husband. We have our agency. We've been open for 28 years. And sold independent markets, property, casualty, commercial for the entire time. And we love it. And it's just a great business to be in. And I'm just really happy that we have this many people that are excited about insurance as we are.
Hi, I am Carrie Cheeks. I run national accounts for JenCap. JenCap is a full-service wholesaler. We're the fifth largest in the country and growing. But I started in the workers' comp side, so that's really where my expertise lies. About a year ago, I transitioned into sort of everything, P&C and high-value personal. But yeah, I've been in it for 6 years, and I'm looking forward to a lifetime in the industry.
Again, while we had these people here, so I'd love to hear if we've got still from agency, from MGA, and then obviously somebody from the tech side. That I would love to hear from you guys. And I can start with Carrie. We'll work our way down. Again, being in a hard market, and whether you work with carriers or agencies or tech vendors or whatnot, what do you see as the biggest challenges we're seeing moving forward in the hard market?
Yeah, so the hard market, it's been a hard market for a long time, and at JenCap, we're sort of seeing it be more of a transitional market. That doesn't mean it's easier to place business. It actually means it's harder to place business in a transitional market. So there's a lot of, insurtech companies that are coming in to place business. And so their prices are coming in much lower than your staple companies, the companies that have been around for years and years, that have to make up for the big losses for catastrophes and, losses and higher property values and things that are outdated. They're trying to make up for that. And these insurtechs are coming in and pricing it where they should be. So it's making it hard. You have to cover the bases and you don't have all of the resources. You don't know who's going to come in. You used to know, hey, this is the cheap option, this is the best option, this is the market of last resort. Now it's just sort of everywhere. And, I think that in a hard market or a transitional market, whatever we want to call it, I think it's really important to focus on relationships and have people that are going to educate you and stand with you moving throughout the market that we're in. Because honestly, we're not coming out of it anytime soon. We're here for a while, especially in Texas where y'all are. We're going to get hit so often with so many different kinds of catastrophes. We're in it for the long haul, so it's good to have relationships that you can count on to sort of provide help throughout this marketplace.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Ariel said the same thing. I don't think we're in this market cycle. I think we're in a new norm. And so, again, from an agency standpoint, Debbie, where do you see the challenges from agents' perspective, whether in a large agency or small agency or wherever in between?
I think we have a unique position because we're in the middle. we've got the companies that are restricting us, and then we've got the insureds that need us to show them what we need to give them. The way we do it in our office is I like to do a broad view of everything. If there's something that they need and we're looking at that market, we're looking at the broad view and then asking them, is there something you can do without? Because the market is so, people have paid like 1,000 one year, all of a sudden now it's 3,000. So I have to give them that option of what they had before with 1,000, but if you want to do something, here's your options. And the thing is, giving the customer the option, you're giving them the details that they need to realize that if there is a claim, they decided not to have that option. But if they decided to pay the 3,000, then they're still keeping all their options that they need. And the problem right now is it's getting so hard to even be able to offer the same options because now the companies are now saying, 1%, 2%, 3%. Where are we going to eat that cost is my worry right now is where am I going to try to save that customer that cost out of pocket and then still show them the value of an insurance policy because like you had said, they say, we don't pay any claims. Well, we do, but it has to meet that deductible. So now that deductible is even higher. So the hard market has really put us in a position to where, the company, we're trying to grab from them, give us more, but they're pulling back. And then we're having the insured saying, I want the same, but I can't have it anymore. So it's just a struggle, but I think explaining everything to your client is the first part of doing anything correct in this market. Explain everything to them and let them have options of which parts don't I want to take and to go further in this hard market so we come out of it and then maybe we can change it back to where it was.
Yeah, that's a good point, leading with education, no matter where you're coming from in that. And Michael, I'd love to hear from a tech perspective. I know you get to work with a lot of agencies and Hawksoft's really involved in the industry at so many different levels. What do you see from a technology perspective moving forward? There's some of the challenges.
I think really, they both touch on relationships, and that's one of the goals with your tech vendor that you really need to establish is what is it that you need to help build that relationship or keep that relationship with your customer. What are the tools necessary? So as a renewal comes up, are you able to run those specific reports? What types of reports is it that you need in order to be proactive towards that renewal to get to that information that's needed, whether that's a deductible increase, if it's a specific company that is raising rates a specified amount, be proactive, reach out to those customers in advance. There's some automation out there, there's text stacks that can happen just to make sure that you can be proactive and not necessarily you physically having to reach out to that customer, but at least getting that information out there via text, via email, that sort of thing, and then helping educate. So I think what I would see in the near future with our vendors and tech vendors as well is really relying more on the agents to let us know what it is you need inside the system, those specific reports, the specific data points that you're looking for. The data's out there from the carriers. It's making sure it's in your systems correctly and in the right place that you need to find it. So again, making sure that you're reaching out to your vendors to say, this is the information I need, this is how I need it and how I want it, to make sure that that's helping you in the future.
Love that. And I think, Carrie, you're in a unique position at the MGA between both. You work with agencies and you work with carriers a lot. From an underwriting perspective, we talked about aerials and you're talking about all the losses. I think you mentioned 26.9 billion net loss in 22. Last year was 21 billion. This year we're having not the best year. And so I'd love to hear from your perspective, from an underwriting standpoint, what are those changes need to be made? What do you think needs to happen there? What are some thoughts on that from your perspective on that?
Yeah, so last week we had our big wholesale conference that all the wholesalers and E&S carriers, attend every year. And a big talk was, what kind of loss is it going to be this year that actually sends the market just into pure and utter chaos? What is it going to be? And Helene did a good job of starting to get us there. Horrible disaster. But, it's only I think they're projecting it's around like 5 to 10 billion somewhere. And they're saying that we need to have at least 40 billion in losses this year to really turn the needle again and just make it, catastrophic for everyone in every market everywhere. But, I think that the underwriting differences there, they've been implementing them for the last couple of years. They've figured out, the formula that worked for years and years. It's going to be fluid now. It's going to have to change. But, from the wholesale perspective, we're trying to sell what you send us. So agents send us deals and try to sell them to us. We have to sell them to the underwriters. And the more that y'all can help your wholesaler or carrier sell your deal for your insured, it's so much more helpful. If you know what kind of risk mitigation they're doing, if you know that they're putting things in place to, not have as big of losses, or if they're replacing things, or on the work comp side, if they're, putting in return to work for whatever it may be, if you know that they're doing that, if the more information you can give your carrier or your underwriter broker, whoever it is, the better it is. At this point, everybody's struggling out there. It's so hard to write business. Don't make it so much easier. You can make it so much easier on yourself if you just share as much information as possible. The good, the bad, the ugly. Tell us how the bad, the ugly isn't going to happen again. And, it'll be much easier for everyone.
Thank you. Debbie, I'd love to hear, from your perspective, again, whether it's, the rising cost of insurance or just customer complaints in general, how are you handling some of those phone calls that are coming in from your clients, in this time, because we're all dealing with those. Every single person in the room that I've talked to this week, they're dealing with those phone calls, those tough conversations. How are you handling those? How do you suggest that we move forward in those conversations?
Well, it did start last year, and it was really tough last year trying to get through that cost increase. It started at, one company all of a sudden going from, 1,000 to 3,000. We can move them to another company. We would look around. We have several carriers, so we were able to look around to find and compete with them. Then it got to a point where we didn't have any more markets to do that anymore. There's nowhere to turn. So again, just talking to the clients, explaining the coverages to them, explaining what they have, and giving them options. Giving them options, and then discussing the claims with them. Do you want to turn this claim in? Is the claim going to be worth turning in? What is the value of that claim? Let's get some estimates prior to turning in the claim and see if it's going to be even over the deductible, number one. And number two, to see if it's going to be something that you want to carry for the next 3 years to 4 years if a claim occurs. I have a lot of customers tell me right now, I would rather eat, $1,000, $2,000 loss than make a claim, and that's going to help out too. But the problem is that we're having is that discussion with each and every customer, and you need to be open. You need to tell your clients, call me before you call the claims department. Let's discuss your situation. Let's discuss how the loss happened. Is it something that is a covered peril? Do you have that covered peril? And so on, because the perils people have shifted on the type of coverages they have, and they need to make sure that they have those. I always tell people it's like going to Luby's. You go to Luby's and you get to pick all the vegetables you want, all the salad, you can end up with $100 lunch meal, or you can get the Luann special for $5.95. Everybody wants the $5.95, but then when they get to the register and sit down, they're like, where's my pie? And where's my, my salad? And where's my extra side? They don't have it because they wanted this Luann special, and they got nothing. So again, it's just that same way in the market. When you're looking at stuff, please explain to your clients the value of looking at what coverages they have prior to the loss, because after the loss, we can't help you. I can't add that coverage on. I can't reverse it, and you only wanted liability, now you need full coverage. I can't do that. And explaining to them how that loss is going to come in. And then again, if it's a small dent or it's a small, hailstorm, and you can get these popped out for under your deductible, then consider that, then turn it into a claim, which is helping with the losses with the companies, and then also with their, with their rates going up every year.
Speaking of value, Michael, you and I have been in a lot of conversations about AI. We've had a panelist say, don't ask me about AI, but I will ask Michael just because I know you and I have had these conversations. And, those out there have told me in my classes that they're scared of AI, or, it's kind of, one of those situations, wild, wild west things. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's coming. It is here now. Michael, where can you see AI helping, whether it's underwriting or whether it's agency complaints, things like that? Where can AI be brought in, whether it's generative AI or using it within your technology? Where can that come into play here? Make them not scared.
Yeah, I actually use a lot of ways that AI can assist in many features. One way that I know an agency has worked with it a lot lately is by putting in the actual quote that another carrier had versus what their quote was. So be it Safeco versus JenCap, or something like that. They're putting those into what is the differences. Describe why that coverage is different here. and if it's helping kind of nitpick things a little bit easier. So by uploading actual documents to some of these AI features, some of it is helping you write out letters, write out emails, and phrasing emails in a specific way. I mean, we all know. Again, I've been on the front line with agents as well. I know what it's like to get that call. Why did my rate go up? 1,000%. I actually got a phone call yesterday about that. I don't know. I know I just got your renewal at the same time that you just got it. But let me kind of dive into it. Let me figure out. Put things in to kind of help you out that is going to help you not be on the defensive side. Use the education pieces in AI to help you with your customers. Use it to kind of help set up a marketing plan, a plan for renewals, a plan for education marketing out there in social media, a plan for really what information you need. On the flip side of things, it's okay, what do I need to know if this carrier now is specifically tightening underwriting guidelines, they're only looking for this type of risk and that sort of thing. What are some questions I need to ask the customer and be prepared and be proactive? Again, the more information you give your underwriting team, the more upfront you are, the better off you're going to get that risk assessment in place. And when that inspection goes out, if you're not uncovering all of these things, you're able to kind of slide right on through. So I think there's a lot of tools out there. It's playing with the right tool and finding what is going to work best for you. I know there's ChatGPT. A lot of people love that one. There's other tools out there that are just helping in many, many ways. But finding one that's either A, going to integrate with you, or that's going to assist you in your day-to-day operation.
And would you say, again, with ChatGPT, some of these free tools, just to play with it, just give it a shot, you can't hurt anything, right?
Correct. I mean, obviously review things. I mean, we know at times ChatGPT is wrong. There's sometimes things out there it does not make sense by any means when you're utilizing and looking at that tool. But at the end of the day, see where it might be a conversation starter. It might be a place just to start, and then you can add pieces to it. It's a puzzle. You're just going to kind of continue to build it. The more that you spend in ChatGPT or some of these other models, the more that you put information in and how you ask the questions and build it, it's going to learn how you want to talk, how you want to have that conversation with your customer, what the information is that you're looking for, and it's going to be better at giving you that information out the first time.
Yeah, and we're in an industry always been about relationships, but I feel like right now more than ever in a hard market, it's going to be more reliant on relationships, whether it's with your carriers, with your MGA friends, with your tech partners. Carrie, I'll start with you on this. Talk to them about that relationship, how important that is from your perspective, and what you're looking for. Maybe if you wanted to go a little further into that, how can they build their relationship better with their MGA partners or with their carrier partners?
Yeah, so my title is National Client Relations, so my entire job is relationships and building them. But I think that right now it's so important in a hard market to build relationships. But honestly, if the market ever gets soft again, you have to keep the relationships then. You can't just call out someone and think that they're going to help you when it's hard when you've neglected them for, 3 years when everything was good, right? You need to make sure that you're staying on top of the relationships regardless of what the market looks like. And I think that a key part to finding good, lasting relationships is they have to be mutually beneficial, obviously. But I think it's finding somebody that wants to grow with you and wants to actually help you. Finding somebody that's interested in writing what you're interested in writing and, figuring out how y'all can work together and find someone that you can call and ask stupid questions to. I get calls that are everybody's like, I am so sorry that I'm calling you about this. I know this is the stupidest thing for you. I'm like, well, actually, I just got off the phone with someone that asked something much stupider, so you're fine. No, there's no question. I ask them questions all day. I am an insurance superstar expert by any means. I know the basis of it, and I know the experts to connect y'all to. But I ask people dumb questions all day, every day. If you're asking me a dumb question and I don't know it, I'll connect you. But it's finding people that want to help you grow and want to see you succeed out there and making those connections so that, you do have the resources. Even if you don't think you do, you can figure it out for somebody. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We're all trying to write business, no matter where you are in the line of it. We're all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, and right now the carriers are having a hard time placing business, and some of them are moratorium, some of them may exit the state. I know we've had a lot of that in Arkansas. Where can an MGA really jump in and help them? I'm throwing you off. I didn't ask you this ahead of time, but where can they jump in, and where's that value that they can find from working with someone like you guys?
Yeah, so we have access to thousands of carriers across the country, and our teams are so great at what they do, and they're good at being creative and finding solutions. That wholesalers all day long, all they see is the ugliest of the ugly. Essentially, it's just what nobody else wants to write. That's why it's coming to a wholesaler. So wholesalers have had to be creative forever, for as long as they've been around. And, with more tech and more markets entering the, space, there's more opportunity for us to get creative. And if you don't have a market that's writing in a certain state, they pull out of a class or whatever it may be, call somebody like us or whoever. I would love for it to be us. But call whoever you want to call and see if they can help you, because odds are they have a market. Somebody else has probably said, hey, like I know Philly's getting off the daycares in Texas, or I don't know if they're doing it everywhere, but I know they are in Texas. I've had 10 people call, hey, do you have a market for this? And after the first one, we already knew what to do. We knew how to take care of it. So we see it. You're not going to be the first one to call your wholesaler or MGA and say, hey, this person's pulling out. What can I do? We've seen it. We know how to fix it. So I think that's also, thank you. Good point.
And Debbie, from your perspective, as you talk to other agents in the room working with their carriers and your MGA partners, what advice can you give to build those relationships, strengthen those relationships from your perspective?
Well, I like to stay very close to my marketing reps that, I think I've discussed with a lot of people. We're stuck in the middle. We've got the marketing, the companies on one side, we have the insurance on one side. We have to be the middleman for you. So I want to protect the companies that we do have so they don't go under and they don't pull through. We make sure that they are making the right decisions for our clients. Then I have to have the insurance side come back on that side too, where the clients are telling us, I need these products, like you said, I need the daycare center. Now I've got a non-renewal. Why? What am I supposed to do? I said, don't panic. I've got this. We've got other markets we can place you through. Just let me, work on it for a second. But talking to my reps on a consistent basis is helpful, because I know what's going to happen in the next month or so. I know what's going to happen next. They're going to call in there and tell me, guess what, we're pulling out of here. Then I can project myself to get my staff to start working on those projections to see what is next and what's the next in line to work on. Oh my gosh, we're going to have 20 cancellations next month. Let's start working it. Let's start moving it over. Let's start sending it to other carriers that are going to take that market. Then I can call and ask, hey, are you taking this market? Yes, we are, but we're not taking buses with the daycare center, or we're not taking this with that, so now we know where we can limit ourselves to, or even bother to get a quote from them, because we know we need that bus at that daycare center. So having that relationship where I can just talk to you real quick, give me a synopsis. I don't want to read all your marketing material. I just want to know yes or no. Can we do it? Yes, great. Then I'll go read all your marketing material about that product. But I have, 20 to 100 companies. I cannot memorize every one of y'all's products. So that's my hand on your marketing rep, is that they're there to help me move forward faster and then be able to discuss it with our clients.
Michael, you've been proud of me. Yesterday I taught a class on, I taught from a lot of perspective of using your technology, using your AMS. And believe it or not, I had some hands go up that are still in file cabinets. So I'd love to hear, I'm not going to call anybody out, I won't look at anybody in here, but there's still some agencies, whether they're in Texas, Arkansas, or wherever in between, that still using file cabinets. Could you talk a little bit, I'm giving you a curveball question, explain maybe the importance right now, more than ever, in having their data set up in their management system, or having their clients set up there, how they can utilize some of that technology in their agency.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I think the agency that I was in, giving you perspective here, we moved to a management system in 2012. Prior to that, I had the same employees for 30 years. They had the same filing cabinets. They didn't trust the internet. They didn't trust the computer. It was just how it was. As people started to retire, we started going into the management system. And we used it as a glorified filing cabinet. It was just a download place. We didn't put notes in there. We didn't put anything in there about renewals. All of the data was just there. It was probably 4 or 5 years later that we really started diving into it and saying, okay, this aspect of this system, why is this here? How could it benefit us? What do we need to do differently? And we charged each person inside the agency with learning different pieces of the software and how we can implement or do that better inside the agency. And a lot of that went back to that relationship with the customer. The call that always drove me nuts coming into the agency was, what company are you in? I need to make a change. Well, what company are you in? You should already know that.
Right.
If your system isn't populating the customer file as it calls in, that's one thing that's an easy trick for you to set up. It's that customer profile is popping up. You already know, hey, it's the auto policy, it's with Progressive. You know where you're going. It's those cutting that time frame down, essentially there. But then finding those reports, all of those data metrics that are there to really understand your book of business. One of the things that I really love doing when a carrier comes in is I knew that my marketing rep was coming in, is having that information available. What did I write the last 30 days? What did I lose in that company in the last 30 days and why? And so it's figuring out all of those sub-statuses. Okay, did they leave because of price? Was it because of claims? Was it because of a youthful operator? What caused them to leave? And then I can have that open and honest conversation with that marketing rep and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, here's the trend. Because they're always going to say, well, we're writing business, well, what are you writing? Because I'm not writing anything with you, whatever the case may be. But it's really finding all of those data points and what it is you want to track. I know there's a lot of agencies out there that are generalist agencies, but if you know that your carrier is only writing certain types of business, find that type of business. Weed out what you don't need inside the agency, what's causing you issues, what's causing the claims, and things like that. So there's a lot of data inside your systems that you could utilize to benefit and grow the agency and pinpoint different metrics for the future.
Yeah, where about my carrier rep people? Any carrier people in here? You can raise your hand, we won't shoot you.
I think they're all getting ready for the expo.
Okay, there's one or two. They're getting ready for the expo.
Yeah.
But, I've talked to several carrier reps throughout the week here, and they would agree with Michael, and they like you to know that data. They would like you to come to those meetings prepared to be able to say, here's what we submitted, here's what we haven't. So that's a good point to bring up. But I did want to ask for all of you here, I feel like, and I talk about this a lot, is having your own unique value prop. We can't no longer up to Arkansas. We can no longer sell on price alone. Obviously we have to have our own value statements of where we come from, what we bring to the table besides price. So, I guess we could start in the middle there with Debbie. As from an agency standpoint, and then we can go ladies first on that end with Michael on this. Where do you come from on that? What's your unique value proposition besides just, price?
Well, I really don't sell on price. I know that's a big thing that everybody looks at. Like I explained before, I usually show the value of what it is. So when people show me, oh, I have this rate for $20, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay, send it over to me and let's go through it. Just like Michael was saying, let's compare them together. Like you said, we have the two companies, put them together and let's see how they mesh together. Okay, you have 30/60, I'm giving you 100/300. You have 1,000 deductible, you have it 500. You have rental and towing, you have nothing over here. So, the things is showing and comparing the two together is so important. And that's where, what we do is you have to compare apples to apples. And I say that all the time, and my staff, repeats that over and over. You can't have an apple and an orange and expect to have the same taste. It's not going to be the same thing. You've got to show where the difference is between the companies. And you've got to be able to expand that with what they're looking at. Because all they're looking at is homeowners. I remember I was teaching the first time buyers homeowner class, and everybody was easy. HOA, HOB, that's it, we got it. So now we look at price, that was easy. Everybody has the same coverages, now we've got 600-700 different versions. And again, here I go to Luby's. Which one am I gonna pick? Which one of those slots am I gonna take? Everything's at 300,000, yes, your house is at 300,000, but what does it cover? Is there water? Is there foundation? Is there, all of these extra sewer? All of these things that are added to the policy that this other one doesn't have, and yes, that one is 1,000 and mine is 2,000, but you don't have 12 coverages. So I like to show them all and then line item veto. Which ones don't you want? So when you have that claim, you line item veto that one, you didn't want to be covered for it. So giving that option, I think is very important to showing the value for customers.
And Carrie, there's a lot of NGAs, out there. What's the value proposition from JenCap's perspective, and what can you tell them that maybe makes you guys a little bit different, and what's your selling point on that?
Yeah, so JenCap was only formed 8 years ago, and we were already the 5th largest wholesaler in the country. And we're growing fast. It happened a lot by M&A, and then the last couple of years with interest rates, we sort of slowed down on our M&A, and we've had a lot of organic growth. But I think that what I hear from our market is that they want us to grow. They want to grow with us. The big three, they're great. They have their own good things. But, the difference with the big three and the carriers is that, they're already inundated with that. They want to grow with some people that are coming up, and we hire young talent across the board, right? We have guys that can get creative, people that focus on their relationships. But our clout with the marketplace is crazy. I was at a ton of meetings with the C-suites from a bunch of the different large E&S carriers last week, and they all wanted to know what they could do to grow with us and how they could grow with us. And I think it's very important when you're working with an MGA or a wholesaler to find someone that the carriers trust and want to grow with. A lot of the time, you can say that you have the biggest, you can be the biggest, whatever, but are you growing and how are you doing that? And back to education, we love to educate people. We compare policies all the time. We compare quotes. We make sure that, hey, this one is cheaper, but you get so much more with this one. And it all comes back to education and relationships. Every answer I have is going to say that pretty much.
Love it.
Yeah,
Look at consistency.
Let me add something here. I was in an agency I visited a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about comparing policies and stuff. And the agent he had just worked with a customer prior to me coming in, and he said, man, that customer just really ticked me off. I said, what's going on? Tell me about it. And he said he brought in 3 other quotes from other agencies for me to review with him. He said, why was he out shopping me? Because I took that, he shouldn't have shopped me because he should have called me first and I could have shopped it. We're independent. I said, dude, understand, he brought you the quotes to review with you.
That's a win, yeah.
That's a win, he wants to understand it. And that's the big thing. They want to understand what they have. Yes, okay, he went somewhere else, but he comes to you for your opinion because that's the relationship he has. Take that as a win and go. It's awesome.
So there's a lot of different, AMS vendors or CRM vendors out there. You and I have arm wrestled a few times, just kidding. But from Hawksoft perspective, where's your value? What's different besides, you have a cool color or cool pricing or whatever it might be. What is it for you guys?
I think for Hawksoft, the biggest thing is we're very client-centric and customer-focused. And as the Hawkins family who started Hawksoft, they were agents. They were in an agency before, and that's how really Hawksoft started. They needed a management system because they couldn't read the handwriting on the applications going to the carrier. And so they started developing Hawksoft, and that's how Hawksoft was born. But they've never lost touch with the relationships that they built inside an agency with their customers. And so the only way that Hawksoft has grown over the years is really by listening to agents. You're going to see our executives sit at meetings like this, sit at tables right next to you, and ask your opinion, ask what needs to be done, and then they're going to find ways to implement. They take suggestions out there like crazy. We have a platform that any agent can make a suggestion, and then our developers are going to reach out to you and ask why. Why is it that that's needed? How is that going to benefit you in the agency? What is the workflow and the process for, and stuff like that. And then they're also going to reach out to other agencies and say, would you use it like this? Why would you, and that sort of thing. Because let's be real, 80% of what any management system does is the same across the board. It's the other 20% that really sets an agency management system apart from others. And so it's the workflows in there. You may be able to do the same thing 6 different ways, but your agency is going to be different than your agency and how you do it. But it's also really when you need that management system, when you need that tech vendor, what's the process like for service? What's the process like for, hey, I need this feature added in? If you're able to reach out to them, if you're able to get a response back in, an hour, or are you able to call in? Do you have a direct connection with somebody, or do you have to email in and get a ticket number and wait 3 days? So I think those are kind of the big things as to really what deciphers different vendors out there. And with Hawksoft, we really do a bang-up job at looking at customer-centric focused agencies, and we're there for PNC agencies. We're all the way there for life agencies. I even have a lady that is in Tennessee that sells shoes, and she uses her management system to track her shoe sales as well. So I mean, she found a way to implement it in there. She could run reports on her shoes. sales. I'm like, hey, more power to you.
Don't tell my wife that, 'cause she'll have all of her shoe collection put in there with their outfits. She can probably figure out a way to AI that too. But, no, to echo some of that, and again, we're friendly competitors, but also, Paul Hawkins, the Hawkins family, there's the accessibility to them and the genuine, Paul Hawkins is one of the most genuine dudes I've ever met. He sits on the tech council for PIA on a national level, and so I've sat in some meetings with him just to hear his concern and hear what he has to say about it. It's just really cool to see. So I can echo some of that, and I can always appreciate that. Again, I do want to ask you guys prediction time. I know, again, we say we're in a new norm, but if you had to say, where do you think we are in this? Do you think you see the light at the end of the tunnel coming, or we're still at the beginning of this hard market? Again, the new norm is the fun thing to say because it makes it easier. But where do you think we are? Where do you think we are? We'll start with you.
Me? Oh, thank you. No, I mean, it is a new norm. It's not, I don't think that the marketplace will ever go back to what it was just because the world is never going to go back to where it was. Everything's ever evolving, and there's so many different factors that could play into where the marketplace can lead. It's really hard to predict, but I really don't think that it's going to change much out of a hard market or a transitional market anytime soon. I mean, you have lines like professional and workers' comp that are soft right now, but one big cyber scam professional is going to harden up, and but workers' comp is going to stay soft for probably ever actually. But other than that, I think it's pretty much.
Okay. Debbie, where you at on this?
Well, to me, it's always just the economy. You've got cost of prices, like she says, I don't think it's ever going to go back, so I don't think we're going to go back to the price that we had before. Well, the prices that we had before to pay for a piece of lumber, example, my husband was building a shed, we would buy the plyboards for, $22 a plyboard, and now they're $100, a plyboard. It was just like crazy. We just stopped building the shed, like we're going to stop. Because I'm not going to pay $100 a board when I was paying $20. Now they're about 27, but still, it's never going to get down to where it was before. Don't even ask me about him going to the grocery store with me because he has a pal about how much the milk has gone up from when he used to go, or how much the eggs have gone up. So the cost of doing labor and parts and repairs have also gone up. Plus, everybody wanted more pay, so that's gone up. So when you look at it, I don't think we're ever going to go back to where we were before, and I think we're in the middle. I don't see us. I don't even see us over the hill yet. I think we're kind of like trying to get over the hill, but I don't think we're there. I don't see the market changing for quite some time. This is going to be the norm, and we've got to find that cushion in the middle to help our clients try to cushion that middle portion.
Michael, where you at?
It's definitely going to go on for a while. What I do see, though, is a lot of the carriers that I am in communication with or that I still talk with, because I travel around the United States and had a lot of trade shows and everything. There are some that took rate increases or made a lot of changes 2-3 years ago that are now starting to not make as many changes, or they're starting to kind of lessen things a little bit. Whereas now your smaller regionals are now the ones that are now starting to kind of, okay, now we need to change our rate type and writing guidelines. And so I think you're gonna go in this cycle a little bit. It's still gonna remain, for a while. But at the end of the day, it's finding your tools, finding your ways that you can work with those carriers to make sure that you're still writing profitable business. You were mentioning, the cost. I still, in Ohio, where I'm from, I used to be able to sell a home policy at $490 for the year. Like, that was unreal. And our marketing, or our mortgage companies would always sit there and they would quote to the customers, as they always do, well, here's where your home insurance should be. And they were still telling me, they were still quoting, even a year ago, your homeowner should be around $800. There's no homeowner in the state of Ohio that's at $800. I mean, you're lucky if you're getting it less than $1,500. And so what these mortgage companies are doing is calling the customers and saying, you need to shop your insurance because your insurance is now $1,800. And so I've talked to agents and they're like, well, how do we combat that? I was like, you have a conversation and educate the mortgage rep too. I mean, the prices are high. I think you have prices in general that are higher for the cost of goods, but then also you have to talk to your legislature and look at exactly what's happening in the legislation as well, because the laws and the legal things that are happening and the amounts of judgments that are going out there and the awards that are happening are killing insurance companies. My son last week was in an accident.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about that when we were at a conference. Called me that morning, was in an accident, and I was like, okay, just send me the photos.
He was okay.
Right? Yeah. Like, send me the photos, what's going on? And he sent me the photos, and he goes, how bad is it? Like, it'll be okay. He goes, well, do we need to turn it into insurance? Because I know insurance is gonna go up. It'll be fine. Like, it's probably a couple $100. And I'm sitting there looking at it, I was like, no, it's probably $4,000. But it is what it is. I mean, he has liability junker car. He's 17 years old. I'm not gonna, go buy him a brand new car. But again, it's knowing that yes, we're still in that market. It's educating our customers through that too.
There you go. All right, I did come on stage. I've got a mic in hand. Anybody have any questions at all? Again, I'm going to hand the mic to somebody and make you ask a question. If you're in my class yesterday, I will do it. Anybody have any questions at all? No? There we go. I knew I'd have some. All right, this guy he spent 6 hours with me yesterday, so you know to tell the truth.
Yeah. This is actually my first year being an agent, and so I'm constantly getting used to everything that it is. So what's your recommendation for working in this hard time, especially someone that's really new to all this stuff?
Don't quit. Don't quit. Keep going. Keep going. I promise it gets better. Honestly, I never thought I'd be in insurance. Again, I told you guys I was a teacher for 3 years. I got laid off twice prior to going into insurance. My dad was in insurance. I hated insurance. Insurance was boring. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to go in insurance. If you're in insurance, what was the heat we were talking about? Granted, 3-5 years after that, you're never going to leave.
Right. You get stuck.
You're stuck.
Once you're in forever.
Right. So, I mean, it is one of the best businesses out there, and the most unique and fun. I think every day is constantly different. If you can weather what we're going through right now, you're going to be golden.
Yeah, I also sign on to the don't quit. It's gonna suck. It sucks real bad for a little while. It does. But don't quit. And find something that you can do that separates yourself from somebody your age or somebody that's starting out. If it's working an extra hour, if it's calling an extra client every day, just make yourself a little bit better every day. And that really does go a long way. Just be better than the person next to you. That's all you gotta do.
I think you should find a niche, because everybody has their specialty.
You stole my answer. It's a great answer.
And the thing is, you need to find your niche. If you like to sell to daycare centers, then hit every freaking daycare center you can find. Know the knowledge of that daycare center. Know how the policy reads. Read that policy and discuss it with with yourself. Be prepared for any question that comes at you. And now you're the expert in the daycare center, and you can do every daycare center in the whole city. The thing is that know your niches and get something that you're used to. You don't have to do the whole world. You don't have to know every line. You don't have to know auto, home, commercial, life. Pick a niche that you like, even if it's auto. But know your product, know what you're doing, explain your product, and make sure that you're ready and prepared when that client talks to you and look at their policy. Because they always think they're fully covered, and they're never fully covered. And you need to explain that to them. And you are the professional to explain that to them. Hold on, dude.
Okay.
So you need to move forward and make sure that you are properly, we are the experts. You are now the expert. I'm coming to you to understand what I need. I don't know what the heck I need. I just bought this daycare center. I don't know what I need. You're the expert, and you need to tell them what they need. And if they don't want to buy all the options, they start off with 1 or 2, that's fine, but let them know this is a part of the policy that you should be getting. If you're not taking it right now, you should think about it later, like workers' comp or whatever else. But those are things that, because when they're first starting, they might not be able to afford everything. But let them know everything they need, and then remind them every year of what they're at.
Great answer. Us today, you can work with your MGAs, you can work with your carriers, you can work with other people. Hey, I've got a microphone, I'm gonna use it.
Well, I do too.
I know you do. And you were probably gonna say something similar, but yes, there's people in the other room that are setting up the vendor all day. You can sit down with them, they come to your office and ask them, new guy in business, so they just, hey, what do you want right now? What are you interested in? What do you need from me? What are you looking for? And they'll work with you on some of those things too. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that wholesalers and carriers really love it when somebody has a niche to work with, because you know what you're writing, so it's easy for us to write it for you.
You can also find, for lack of a better term, your competitors in the area. Don't look at them as your competitor, because they may have a niche too that you don't have, and now you can refer over to them. look at them as that referral source rather than that competitor, and work together rather than being in competition. It makes a world of difference in having a friendly person that you can rely on and refer over to as well.
Another question over here. Go ahead.
My question is I'm concerned with time management. How long do we have to take? What kind of advice can you give me? How long should I take to vote, a new policy? How long is it supposed to take all day to make that sell? Can you give me advice?
Okay. So everything is unique. And like I always tell people, don't put your customers as a cookie cutter. You know, it might take me to quote you 20 minutes because I've got all the data and the information to quote you, and I'm able to give you the product with the companies that I have. But then again, I might have to quote her, and it's going to take me all day because I have to submit it out to all these different places. And submitting it out, now I'm stuck waiting for them to submit it back to me. And then we're going back and forth between questions. This morning I was answering a couple of my underwriters, you know, these questions that you needed. Okay, here's the answers to those questions so we can get the answer. So now I'm going on day 3. So there's not really a time limit. It just depends on the product, what you're doing, and then use your time management right. Go in between the spaces where you have your clients that you're able to quote easily, and then the other clients that you need a little bit more time. Get that paperwork done, get it done and get it out, and then work on the easy customers and call them back in between each of those, and work your time management that way, where you can overlap the waiting time with your quoting time of the easy ones.
I think also look at some of the technology that you have inside the agency. There are certain things that you can fly right through. Some quotes. People use raters out there. I'm not, I work in the tech, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a big fan of raters. I never have been. I use them, but I'm not a fan of them. But I know inside my agency, we have tools available that can pre-fill company sites for us, rather than an actual rater. And so that was then taking time, off of us having to spend in each click, filling all that information in. It was consistent. But again, your raters, if you're using a rater, it's doing the same thing for you, pre-filling it into the carrier sites. Then go through, just keep hitting next. You're spending less time than going to each carrier directly then at that point. But again, for some of the other things, obviously find some tech tools that help you reduce that time spent on doing some of those activities.
I have a question for the MGA representative. As commercial admitted markets are not renewing and getting out of these segments, based on what you've heard at the conference, how will the E&S space be in the future in Texas? Like, how large will MGAs be? Is this essentially the future for us moving forward?
It appears that way, doesn't it? It appears that all business is going E&S. And it is. We're growing so much. I can't remember the exact number, but it's the percentage of E&S business in this country is so high compared to what it was a couple of years ago. But, with the market still being in this crazy transitional space, more and more E&S business is coming down. There's more and more E&S carriers and more MGAs and wholesalers popping up everywhere because there is a need for it. I think that, for the foreseeable future, it's here to stay, and it's going to grow and take over a lot of the business that once was catered business.
All right. Any other questions at all? Good job.